Good afternoon, it's Vanessa Baker here, and I've done a pre-recorded video this week because I knew I wasn't going to be available for the live on Thursday at 1:30. So hopefully this is posted at the correct time. And welcome along. And today the plan is to recreate a card that was given to me as a swap. This was a group swap that we did a few weeks ago, and I'll show you the card that I'm going to be casing, and yeah, we'll have some fun. So I'll turn the camera around. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, so this was the card that I received from one of my team, Deb, and I love this. She's been using the Reindeer Fun bundle a lot. It's her absolute favourite in the catalogue. And I just loved this card with the pink and sort of orange sponged background there. And I thought it was a good opportunity to show Emboss Resist as a technique on one of my videos, since I haven't done that before. And also, I've got another tip for if you get any of that powder on your ink pad as we go along today as well. So that's the card that I'm recreating, and I just love the colours, and I love this die cut sort of window of the sort of the greenery or the bushes that the deer are in behind. It's very cute. So I've done it a little bit differently. I've actually turned so I've gone ahead and already cut the die cut from my white card, and I've done it so that it's slightly twisted, so the center of the die is kind of in the corner of the card, and I've got it a bit higher up my card, so I'm just doing a different take on her design. Then I'm also going to use, instead of the, so Deb has used the plaid, I think it is, plaid 3D embossing folder. So I wanted to change that and use the snowflake. So I've got my snowflake folder here, and I'm just going to pop my card in there. And it's a good idea to do the die cutting first before you do the embossing, because once you've embossed, if you then run it through again, you're going to squash all of that embossing. So this is always done as a second part. I'm just lining that up sort of with the line at the bottom, and I'll run that through my machine. Okay, there we go. So I now have my snowflakes on there. Now to make the background, I'll set that aside. I've got a square of white cardstock, and the first thing to do is to create the background snowflakes. And there's a stamp in the Reindeer Fun set with the little snowflakes on it. So I'll just find my embossing buddy. One thing you probably want to note is sort of roughly on the card, on this, whereabouts your window is sitting. So it's sort of in this area, and you can, if you want to, just draw a light pencil sort of outline of where that is. See, it's actually quite low down on the card. I would have done them higher up. So it's quite a good idea to do that, and it will just disappear as we carry on, or you can rub it out at the next step. So now I'm just going to grab the snowflake stamp and the Versamark, and then I'm just going to make a few random stamps of that, and I want some that are sort of peeking in from the edge, so I am going over that line and also twisting the stamp to get a different perspective. Now I'm putting white embossing powder on top of that. And I don't know how that will show up in the camera, but that's our white powder before it's heated. So you can just check now in case you've got any stray bits, or in case there's an area that you've really missed, then you can go back in with your stamp. But I'm quite happy with that, so I'm just going to heat it. And I just wanted to talk about the actual heating process. And I've actually got my non-Stampin' Up heat gun here. This is one I had before I became a demonstrator. So I don't know if you can tell there, some of them are shiny and some of them are dull looking, and that's so I've heated those ones at the top. And when they go shiny, that you know it's done and you can move on to the next one. But I just wanted to also say you don't need to sort of swish it around like a hairdryer. It works better if you use it directionally. So just hold it sort of about, how far am I away? About 5 centimetres away from the paper. Your paper can burn if you hold it too close for an extended period. And I have seen that. It makes a brown, ugly mark. So you don't want to hold it too close, and you just want to move it as the elements change to the shiny. So I'll do a bit more. So I'm just holding it still, and as they change like that, now I move it to the next one. And I just keep it still until I move it just as each one changes to shiny. And that's it. So at this point, you could rub out that pencil line, which I think I'll do this time. I think I didn't do it last time, and it didn't show through, but I don't want to take a chance. Now, it looks like I've picked up something off the rubber there. That I think will disappear as I put the colour on. Let's hope. Okay, I wonder if I didn't heat that quite enough. I might just have another little go. Okay. Just cover my powder because I don't want to stick. I don't want to end up with it all over the desk. Okay. Now, the colours that Deb used were Petunia Pop and Peach Pie. So I'm going to use the same. Got Brendan outside with the lawnmower, so that's not very helpful. Now, I'm just going to start adding ink to this, but I want to be able to... So I've put lots of ink on my blending brush, and I'm starting with the Peach Pie, which is the lighter of the two colours. And I'm just going to get rid of that real sort of rounded first part of ink, which is quite intense. So I've just got rid of that on my scrap paper. And now I'm just going to go in. And the idea with this is to build up the colour gradually. So just going in and getting a light, just move that up a bit, a light coating. And I'm sort of going halfway and going right out to the edges. And you'll see you get quite a lot of ink off from just one dip into the ink pad. So I'll go again, and each time just get rid of that first blob of ink. I'm going right out to the edges because you've got this these cutout parts. So I want to make sure that when it's tucked in behind that, there's no white paper showing through. Okay, so I might just go in now with some of the Petunia Pop. So the same thing happens. You get your ink on there and then you get off that real sort of dark blob. And now this time I'm going to create an area at the top and also blend down over top of the peach pie. My goodness, he's going right round the cabin where I'm working. I should have told him, but he's been outside for a while, and just as I was getting ready to do this, so it wasn't like he was handy. Anyway, I've got the microphone on, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Okay, so we've just blended that across the whole bit of paper, and I probably just want to come, so each time I'm doing it, I'm tapping it off on scrap paper first, because I really like that blended colour. There's this really sort of peachy, orangey colour that gets created with the two when they meet in the middle there. And then I might just come back in with a bit more of the peach and blend up that way as well. Just really blending the two together. It really seems to come together when you put it behind that window. At the moment, it's, I don't know, it just seems to get a different look when you actually put it back there. It just sort of softens, and yeah, I really like it. Okay, so that's how the background is done, and that's Emboss Resist. So we've put our powder on and heated it, so we've got our stars or snowflakes, and then by adding the ink over the top, we've done that blended background. If we just grab a tissue and give that a wipe now, the white embossing actually resists the ink. So as I'm wiping this, that white is really popping out, and you'll see I've got a little bit of ink on there which has come off that embossing powder. And that's called Emboss Resist. Now, if when I had done the heating of the embossing powder, if it hadn't quite heated enough and little bits of the powder ended up on the brush and then on the ink pad, I found a neat trick that actually happened to an ink pad of mine at a recent event, and I just googled how to remove it, and you just get a piece of packing tape and I probably could have used a larger piece, but if I've got powder on there, you just put the tape on the pad wherever you've got the powder and then pull it off, and it takes the powder with it, and minimal amount of ink. I was thinking I'd have to wash my whole pad and then re-ink it from scratch, but that only takes a little bit of ink and gets rid of whatever you've got sitting there. So whether it's glitter or embossing powder, or even, you know, fluffy bits of card, that sort of thing, just a piece of tape will take it off really easily for you and not affect your ink pad. So I thought that was a really good tip to share. So now I'm going to actually stick this piece behind, and normally I say to put the glue on the smallest piece, but in this case, because we've got quite a lot of detail on here, I'm actually going to put the glue on this part. Let me just move those things out of the way. Oops, got glue going everywhere. Okay, let's just blob it down. Oozing out because I've had it upside down. So, good example of how to get rid of. So I've pulled the bottom off, the bottom thing, and I've got this sort of applicator brush here that I can use to spread that ink glue out. I definitely don't want a blob like that. I'm just going to spread that around. I'm just working sort of closest to the edge of the pattern that's been die cut, and then I'm going to pick up some and just come through these areas where it's a bit fatter through here. I don't want to go too much onto those other branches. And then I just need to spread this glue around and then get it on before it dries. Okay, that's probably enough. I'll lay that down so it's not doing what it did before. Okay, then I'm going to pop my piece onto that glue. That was pretty good. I've just come a little bit too low there, but it's not too bad. And then that's our front. Now I've got a little smeared bit of glue, so I'll just get that tissue and wipe up the worst of it, and then we can use the glue eraser. That's why I didn't want to go onto those leaves really. Right. Didn't expect the glue to go blobby like that. But as you can see, it happens to us all. Okay, so this is now going to go onto the card, and you can decide at this point if you want to put that on dimensionals or put it flat. And I think I'm going to put it on dimensionals. So Deb, on her example, she would have at this point put that ribbon around, but I'm not using the ribbon. Yeah, I can put this on now. So I like to use quite a few dimensionals when I'm doing a card, doing a layer onto the base like this. Maybe one more in the middle. Right. Then I'll just pull all those off. Okay. Now we'll line that up, centered, up there. Okay, so it's time now to, the other part I was going to do on the front is I wanted to create a little place for the deer to sit. I'm going to have mine outside of the circle, whereas Deb had hers inside. So mine are going to sit on the outside here. So I'm going to create a little place for them to stand. And I thought I'd do 2 strips that sort of look like snow. So these are going to cover my snowflakes here, and I'm going to put the words on them. So just going to do that by tearing. So I've cut 2 pieces of white cardstock that are actually wider than the card, and I've done that on purpose. I just find it's easier to have a longer piece, and then you can, once you've ripped it, you can decide which part you're going to use, rather than, if it was cut and then you might end up with a bit that's not quite right and it's hard to tear it again. So I'm going to start, and you tear it towards you. So I want this one fairly straight, but with a bit of a dip. Oh, that might be too much of a dip, yeah. So I've made a bit of too much of a dip there, but what I can do is I can use just this part of it. I'll see where I get to with the other one. It's always tricky tearing and getting it exactly what you imagined. So this one I want to show in that dip or in that area. So I'm going a bit, I've started off lower there and I'm coming up higher. And I'll finish just coming down a little bit. Right, so what I'm going to do is see how they sit together. And I might end up using it a bit like that, because I want to put some words on this end. I might have to go I might do is get the words inked up. So I'm using Christmas is Better Together are the words I'm using. And I'm doing that in an early espresso. It's going on this piece here. Oh, and actually that's lower than what I thought, so that's handy. So I was looking at that and going, oh, I haven't got enough room for my words, but actually I do. So I'm just going to slide them in here. And I'm going to put, so I want that near the edge, so I might cut that one. So I'm going to trim that to 10, which is the size of my white. So I'll have to start by trimming that end. And then I'll use the bottom of my, no, I'll use the trimmer that way to get the top. There we go, that's now 10 for Christmas is Better Together. That will go there, and then this piece is going to sit under it. So if I use that end of it, I should be about right. Actually, I could go there. So if I cut off, so you see it just gives you a bit more option when you've got take a little bit from there, and then I'll go 10 to my width, and then the two together go like that. So I've got that bit at the back. That's what I wanted. And I'm going to stick those on. Now, will my glue be behaving? Oh, it's oozing everywhere. I'm just going to attach that one. Oops, probably off camera there. I've stuck them together, and now I'm going to just attach it flat. I want it flush with the bottom and the sides. There we go. Now to do the deer, I've got them mounted here on a block, and I'm going to stamp them again with early espresso. Just like that. Aren't they cute? Mummy and baby deer. Okay, so the colouring, I'll do the pink first. The pink is for the inside of the ears. And I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Right, so this is Flirty Flamingo, the dark Flirty Flamingo. I found it hard to find a pink that would show up on the crumb cake, but this one does it quite nicely. So that's the insides, and then I'm going to colour the deer just with the pecan pie blends. So this is the dark. So I'm doing the legs. So I'm not actually doing that much blending, I'm just colouring at this stage, and then just putting in the dark where I think the darker areas would be on the deer. And I might just finish the little one first. So we'll do the tail. The tails are normally whiter, but I'll just use this. So this is now the light version of the same colour. And I quite like doing circles, circular I find that blends quite well. I'm going to do the face. And then once that's dried a little bit, we'll come back and I'm going to use the colour lifter just to lighten some of it a little bit, but we'll do the mother first. So again, we're just selecting the areas that would be darker. Definitely in there, in the inside leg. Just a bit up her back, sort of around here. We'll just sort of round that off, and perhaps a bit up here. Just sort of guessing where I think the shadow would be. And then we'll do the light one for in these lighter areas and the tummy and her tail and the head. And this again I'm going to circle because I find that gives you, so I'm circling the lighter one onto the darker one just to blend those lines between them. And you can just leave some uncoloured, but I wanted to show you how the colour lifter works. So I thought we would, I've coloured the whole deer, and so now if we go back in with the colour lifter. Okay, my recording unfortunately didn't work on the last part, so I'm starting again from the colour lifting. So I've coloured my deer, and now I'm just going to use the colour lifter just to lighten a few of the areas where the deer would naturally be a little bit lighter. So I've got, my brush tip is a little bit damaged, so I'm going to use it on the bigger areas. So I think the deer would be lighter on its belly. And I'm just flicking to sort of get, because fur isn't, exactly flat. So just to give that idea that it's, it looks more natural. And I might just switch now to the other end for these smaller areas. And the colour lifter just acts like sort of like a bleach. So it's just lightening a little bit the areas where you put it. So I think on its head there and the nose would be a little bit lighter, and the same on the mother. And even around the eye a little bit there. And now I probably want that bigger brush end for this bigger area here where I think it would be lighter, and this leg in the front. Yeah, so that's doing a great job. You can just see those areas just lifting the colour out, and let's put a bit more on the tail there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to quickly cut them out. great that there's a die in this bundle that cuts the deer out. Not that I mind fussy cutting, but it is quicker for a video. Okay, there they are. There's a little bit there. So they remain attached, which is quite nice. And lastly, I'm going to add a little bit of Wink of Stella. So just to put a bit of glitter, it is Christmas after all, on the backs of the deer. Don't know if you can see that shining in the camera, but it's quite pretty. Okay. So because my sound wasn't working, I have already put the deer on. I used dimensionals to put them on with, and I used, no, I've lost the piece here. I've used the edge pieces of a pack of small dimensionals to get one skinny enough to go behind the legs. So where's that one I just cut out? We can do a little bit more, I can show you. So just cut. So you can see there, that would be what I'd call a whole one. So I'd cut that in half there and get a really skinny, like it's wide enough to handle, but skinny enough to go on a leg like that. So I cut a few pieces like that, and then for the one where the legs are together here, I did a wider piece. And the one for the baby had smaller ones, one on each side, like that. And then I used larger pieces, or whole dimensionals for the rest of the body, like so. And then, so that stick. There we go. So that was put on above, on top of the snow that we did before. So that went on there like that. And I attached the bells. So the bells are from the die set. I have got some here in gold, and I was toying with the idea of using gold, but I wanted to keep it in that sort of colour scheme with the pink and the orange, so I decided not to use those, but that's how they cut out. So I put a dimensional on the solid part of each bell and attached them at the top there, and then put a bow of linen thread on top and attach that with a glue dot, so it has the appearance that they're all tied together. And then I used these little embellishments, which are called Pecan Pie and Clear Ribboned Adhesive Back Dots. So they've got, it looks like a ribbon, I don't know if you can see on the white ones, it shows up more like ribbon going through it. It's quite interesting, we've not had anything like that before, so they're kind of cool. So I used the darker ones, the same as Deb had used. And on the inside, I used the other deer. So in the stamp set, you've got the mother and baby deer, and there's this other deer that looks like he's dancing. So I put that on the inside, on the left-hand side, because it felt like it was travelling in that direction. So I wanted to have a bit of space in front of it. It's quite pretty. And you can colour that as well if you want to, but I kind of liked it just with the early espresso on the white. Looked quite fresh, I thought. So that is my card, and this is Deb's card. So there they are side by side. So I hope you enjoyed my take on what Deb had done. And it just goes to show with the same supplies, just using things slightly differently. You know, my position of the circle is different, and different words and things, just how you can change things up and make it your own. So that was a lot of fun, and I hope you'll join me again next week. And also, Deb and I are running a scrapbooking retreat. It's on Sunday, the 10th of November, and it's at Leafy Hollow Lavender Farm, just out of Waiuku. It starts at 1 o'clock, and you can come along and bring your own scrapbooking or crafting project to work on. Or you can come along and buy one of our kits. And our kit this time is what's called a squash album. And I don't have one ready that I can show you, but it's on if you go to my website and go under classes, you'll find a link there to the page which explains all about scrapbooking. And you can see some photos of some squash albums that Deb and I have made. Deb's actually got them at the moment, so I can't show you. But there are plenty of photos there. And yeah, it's a really cute way to create a little album that you can gift to somebody or carry in your purse. And it's, sort of folds out and folds back in. Yeah, so another fun scrapbooking event coming up in November. We'd love to have you join us. Okay, otherwise I'll just see you next week. Bye.